feature in the story of the 10 lepers, which is perhaps lost over 2,000 years of cultural changes and, of course, shifts of world locations. We don't live in ancient Jewish society or in ancient Palestine, is the detail that this man who came back and thanked Jesus was a Samaritan. Such a detail, especially Jesus asking where are the others to give thanks, might have stirred the stomachs a little bit of the early Jewish Christians, definitely the early Jewish people, who heard this story about Jesus and the 10 lepers, because the Jews hated Samaritans. There was a real cultural tension between them. Politically, they were ostracized. Culturally, they were ostracized. You did not associate with Samaritans. And so Jesus asked the question, is there no one else to give thanks out of those other 9, but this one who is a foreigner? Now fast forward a few years now to 2013. One big, very, very hot socio-political topic that we see all over the news, all over the politics of this country, is the whole question of immigrants, the foreigners who are in our midst, particularly the undocumented immigrants. And I've noticed that any time the question of immigration comes forth, is brought forth by our bishops or by our priests, spoken of, it usually results in great tension or often great anger from the people who hear the message. Well, these are criminals, they're breaking our laws, they're illegal and undocumented. Why are we focusing so much on the immigrants and not so much on the people who are already in this country? And people can get very upset when the question of immigration is talked about, even, perhaps especially by the church. Now, today we honor the first U.S. citizen to be canonized a saint. And she's known affectionately in this country as Mother Cabrini, Frances Xavier Cabrini, who kept her birth name Frances when she became a nun, took the name Xavier in honor of the great missionary Jesuit. And she was asked by the Holy Father, after founding her order of missionaries of charity, she and her great desire to go east, to the Far East, she wanted to be a missionary in China, was asked by the Holy Father, no, not east, but west. And she came to this country where she served the immigrants. And she herself became a citizen of the United States. So in the midst of the great tension with regard to those foreigners, the first American-born, this first American citizen, canonized a saint, was herself a foreigner, herself an immigrant. I wonder how many people really ponder that the first saint of the United States was an immigrant and a naturalized citizen who didn't speak English very well. She eventually learned it, but I'm told she had a bit of a thick accent. She was an Italian immigrant. And she served not the citizens of this country, although she did serve the downtrodden and the poor, but she served first and foremost the immigrants who were coming here in droves. Now, in terms of this Holy Spirit guiding and teaching the people of this country, especially the Catholics of this country, what does that indicate to us in terms of our attitudes and dispositions with regard to immigrants? First of all, she is one who was one of the great founders of the Catholic school system in this country, which is the pride and the envy of the world. The pride of this country and the envy of the world. The United States has the best education system in the world, and the Catholic school system consistently outscores and outperforms the United States public school system. In fact, long before the government ever thought of providing public education, held hostage by politically ambitious unions, allowing you to use whatever bathroom you wanted to, depending on your gender identity, the Catholic school system was developed in this country and has developed to be the best school system in the world. And we see great challenges to the Catholic school system today. We don't see as many nuns as we used to. We see a lot of very dedicated lay people. We see expenses gone up, regulations up, the yin-yang. And in many cases, political efforts to put the Catholic school system out of business so that the children would be forced to go into the public school system, to be indoctrinated into secular progressive ideologies, which was the reason why the Catholic school system developed to begin with, so that these immigrants could get a Catholic-based education. And we have a Catholic population that includes priests who are now indifferent. If I had a nickel for every priest I run into who thinks that the solution to our Catholic school problems is simply closing the Catholic schools, I'd probably be wealthy. If I had a nickel for every Catholic parishioner who simply said, well, I'm not interested in the Catholic schools because my kid goes to the public school, or my kid goes to CCD. Why do we have the Catholic school? Why should we pay tuition when our tax dollars go toward public school education? Again, I'd be rich. There's a great indifference for the Catholic school system to the point where we stand on the shoulders of great giants and spiritual saints like Brother Cabrini and Mother Seaton, St. John Newman, saints in this country who founded the Catholic school system as the best education in the world for our students, especially at the grammar school level. And our generation is dismantling their legacy. We'd rather close the schools than pay for them. We'd rather get something for free with an occasional visit from Planned Parenthood than pay for something that's valuable. There's that old phrase, you get what you pay for. And some might say, well, wait a minute, Father, don't our tax dollars go toward the public schools? So what we are paying for it? In fact, those of us who send our kids to Catholic schools are paying for it twice. But let me ask you this one question. If the public schools were to stop taking our tax dollars, how many here actually think our taxes would go down? They simply take the money and spend it somewhere else. So we are getting public education for free, and we get what we pay for. Let us be renewed with Mother Cabrini's feast today. Whether or not we have kids in the schools, whether or not our kids are in the Catholic schools anymore, that as parishioners of this parish that has a school, we will rededicate ourselves to supporting that school as a ministry of your parish, as a ministry of the church, to consistently and continually provide superior and Catholic-based education for our children. And while we're at it, let us also work to keep this education available to the poor and the immigrant. And we can't do that simply on prayers, good wishes, and tuition paid by parents already sending their kids. We need the support of everyone in every parish that has a school. And rededicate ourselves to the basic tenet that we received in the Jewish law that we now see in honoring Mother Cabrini today, that we show charity to the poor, the widow, and the immigrant. Whether or not an immigrant is legal, undocumented, or illegal is not our problem. Unless, of course, we committed a crime. But there's status of documentation. As Christian people, that's not our problem. What the immigration policy should be in a country is not our problem. We are called to be charitable to the poor, the widow, the orphan, and the immigrant. Let us be renewed in that cause as we honor the first American citizen, canonized saint, who herself was an immigrant, who ministered first and foremost to the immigrants. And in imitation to her, we imitate Christ. And in imitating Christ on this especially, educating our children, being good to the poor and to the immigrant, we are in fact not just obeying simply Christ's command, but a command that God himself gave to Moses back in the Old Testament. Let us be renewed in that basic charism of our church in this country, the United States, to maintain Catholic education out the society of this country as followers of Christ in the context of the United States of America.